Hello everyone, I'm glad you're all enjoying this Esoteric Zodiac series. As most of you know, we are now in the energy of Capricorn, and before I go into this sign, after reading some of the comments on previous videos, I want to give some important information that will help you to better approach the Zodiac and astrology in a way to comprehend the deeper purpose and reasons behind why we study this in the first place, and also just a reminder of where all of this information came from. Many elements throughout these videos come from my own interest in astrology, but the main foundation to all of this comes from the Gnostic teachings as taught by Master Samael on Veyor, which is where the main source of inspiration comes from in sharing all of this with you, and which is why I shared an astral experience involving Samael in the episode on Scorpio. I recommend beginning with the first video in this series if you haven't already, which is on Leo, if you're new to all of this. Now, before I go deeper into Capricorn, everything I'm about to say also does relate to Capricorn, and I'll explain after why that is. So, as you've probably noticed by now, this series is not like ordinary astrology in the sense that if you are on the path to awakening your consciousness, to gaining gnosis, then studying all 12 zodiac signs will benefit you completely, as opposed to just being interested in one, or just the one sign that we are born under. We need to study all of them and strive to not be identified with any single one, no matter what we are born as in this life, because ultimately it does not matter what day you were born or whatever astrological system or school or teaching says about you. Like, my ascending sign is this, my moon sign is this, this system of astrology says this, etc., etc., etc. I'm not saying all of that is wrong to go into certain astrological details like that. It's fine, but remember this, if anything. Our own particular individual zodiac sign placement is part of our karma. That doesn't make it a good or bad thing, but it does make it mechanical. The word mechanical is a term in the Gnostic teachings we use to point towards our own unconsciousness. It points towards the reasons behind our soul's conditioning, our own psychological, egotistical conditioning. It is our mechanicity. Think of an artificial intelligent robot. A robot like that does not have a soul because it is mechanical and it is predetermined by its own type of coding. The zodiac is essentially the same. It helps us to unravel and uncover the mysteries of our own coding, our own particular type of coding that keeps our consciousness asleep. So I say this because many people, almost everyone, takes pride in their sign. Your zodiac sign is not something to be proud about or identified with. It is not pointing towards really your inner divinity, your essence. But it is more of an opportunity to study yourself with more profound and intimate esoteric self-reflection so that you may come to a more deeper and more wholesome understanding of yourself that will then lead you through all of that coding to try and then help us to see the divinity much more clearly. So you might wonder, why is it this way? Why aren't these teachings just telling us about the nice things about our sign? Because right now, in this day, in this moment and hour of humanity, we are in a Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga points towards the cosmology of our galaxy, rather than the astrology of our solar system, that as our solar system, orbits around the central sun of our galaxy, we move through different eras, and right now we are at the end times of a Kali Yuga. At the end of the last Kali Yuga that we were in, it was the Atlantean age, and if you know anything about Atlantis, that did not end well either. So to explain what Kali Yuga is very simply and bluntly, it is an age of greatest darkness, and the souls born in this age are degenerated, devolved, fallen souls. Us, me and you, and we are gifted with life in this age. We are given an opportunity to live in hopes that at least some of us will choose to awaken and ascend and liberate ourselves from the darkness, to escape from the matrix, so to speak, as many people like to put it. And the zodiac is just a little system of clues to help us with the question of, who am I really? Where did I come from? Why am I the way I am? With all of these problems and ways of thinking? What kind of lives did I live in the past to get to this point? So rather than what most New Age zodiac teachings do, focusing mainly on showing us our apparent virtues and higher purpose, etc., it is actually showing us the hard karmic lessons we're here to learn as a soul and what we're here to work through in this life. And once you start integrating and learning those very hard lessons and really start to awake your consciousness more and more, such as through the practices given on this channel, like dissolving ego, practicing transmutation and alchemy, sacrificing for others, etc., then your particular essence may eventually actually start to be more influenced by other zodiac signs. Now, generally, you can only really discover your true zodiac energies, your true zodiac placements in the astral, or the superior worlds, the internal non-physical dimensions of our consciousness. You cannot find this truth of yourself in any external book or YouTube video. You have to read the book of your own life within yourself, your own Akashic records within your heart. So, in other words, let me put it like this. If you live unconsciously in life, never seeking to liberate your consciousness from your own darkness and really change, then you will most likely just stay within the confines of your given zodiac sign at birth. Very simple. However, if you start to change, you start to revolutionize your consciousness in a real way, then you start to transcend your own coding. You start to rise above your own mechanicity. You start to become your own scientist or pioneer of consciousness and change and explore different types of coding, which you will find relate to other zodiac signs. So, for example, I have a friend on the path who is born as an Aries, but recently he discovered, for whatever reason, that in the astral he has been working with the energies of Jupiter. So it's likely that he's maybe working through things at the moment to do with Sagittarius or Pisces, since Jupiter rules those signs. Also, Master Samael Onvior himself was born as Pisces, mechanically, but during his life, since he became a genuine master, he changed to what he is in his real innermost being, which is Aries, because his being, Archangel Samael, is ruled by Aries, which is why his books are, if you read them, they're full of force, because his innermost is a Martian warrior from Mars. So we all have our own particular ray of what we really are astrologically in our real being, and we can only discover this for ourselves if we walk the path. It can only be discovered by practicing this union with our inner master. But we're born into the placement that is most fitting, not for our being, but for our ego. So, for example, after discovering my own previous life, it makes complete sense that I was born as Leo in this life because I had a lot of pride in that previous life. So, rather than believing I am this or that, etc., it is better to study and take wisdom from every part of the zodiac and use that information to meditate on ourselves more profoundly. So, my point is, when it comes to astrology, try to keep theory to a minimum. You must learn to discover it for yourselves in the inner worlds. The age of Aquarius, which we are in now, which only just begun in the 60s, is not concerned with dusty old intellectual collections of ideas in the head. It is only concerned with experience of the truth, true knowledge, gnosis. If you're new to this channel, I have many videos teaching astral projection as well as a free book, and also 2 videos that I recommend to watch after this one if you haven't seen them. One is about the 3 factors of awakening consciousness, and also the video What is Gnosis? Because in that video description I have many links to very good resources for studying Gnosis, and they're full of great practices and knowledge, and they're all entirely free. So, with all that said, and it does relate, as you'll see, with all that said, let's look at Capricorn. Capricorn is a sign of the earth element, symbolized by the goat, and also the god Pan, and is ruled by Saturn, which also relates to the mysteries of life and death, especially since it's during this winter solstice, this time of Capricorn, which is the darkest time of the year. Saturn is also the planet that is furthest away from Earth, which is visible to the naked eye. So it also relates to the limitations of physical material life and its difficulties. Relatedly, Saturn is also symbolized with a scythe, and is also called Kronos, the god of time and death. So this is a period for us all to take advantage of time and to rise up to the challenges of physical limitation and try not to escape our obstacles in life, but work with them, because working with them brings maturity. When we learn from all of our trials and difficulties in physical life, instead of ignoring them, we really then start to grow. That is how we really do the real work. Saturn is also related to the black crow of death when we are first doing the spiritual work. This means, more specifically, when we are undergoing the death of all of our desires, passions, etc. in the astral world. I remember that when I first started on this path, one of my first very vivid experiences in the astral was seeing a huge crow come and visit me, and during that time it led me to studying about death, right? Internal death, psychological death. So this is why Saturn is also related with death, old age, or the wisdom gained in elderhood. This can also, very interestingly, give Capricorns a sense of, or even appearance of, maturity or seriousness, and they can look older than they actually are even when they are quite young as well. And you may notice some children, Capricorn children, behaving like adults early on. Now, all of this talk of death and darkness might sound a little depressing for some, right? Because the energy of Capricorn is known also to be melancholic, sad, pessimistic, always complaining about something, and it is very earthly and always preoccupied with material things, responsibilities, their duties of tomorrow, also always interested in the economic aspects of life. This is why Capricorn is related to the goat. Goats which climb up steep terrains and mountains because they have this ability, this power, discipline, and perseverance to take the material life head on with goals and plans and structures in their careers and hopefully spiritual endeavors too. So usually for people born under this sign, if they are more of a virtuous person, this usually makes them hard workers, patient people, usually people with good self-control. They are very stable, fixed, and this can be something Capricorns should also be cautious of too. To not be too materialistic, always seeking security and insurances of material things too much and end up overlooking the spiritual dimension of life, which can help them to relax and enjoy life more, trusting in God rather than trying to compulsively control everything in life with their ego. Now, all of this can be true when the energy of Capricorn manifests through our physical expression. But ultimately, more deeply, Capricorn is just a very, very symbolic and deep sign. It is arguably the most symbolic and deepest sign there is due to its level of darkness. So remember, as a very general and simple rule, the more darkness there is in life and our experience and our consciousness, the more opportunity there is to attain light. It's always a good thing to remember. No matter how low in your level of being you are, that means you also have more opportunity to ascend, because you have more darkness, then you will also have more light when you do take the difficult actions it takes to start to ascend and start to awaken. And so, in order for us to convert darkness into light, we have to die psychologically. And Saturn is to do with this ray of death, which helps us with this. In Kabbalah, the very high Sephiroth of Binah is related to the Divine Mother, the Holy Spirit. And if you've watched some of my previous videos or are a student of Gnosis, you know that it is this aspect of our being which enables us to experience the death of ego. A big symbolism of this in my chakra series was through the depiction of the goddess Kali. And if you relate all of this symbolism of Capricorn with the darkness, the spiritual night, the sexual potency of the goats, and the experience of death to attain light, you can also see how it relates to Lucifer or Prometheus too, the light bearer. Now, this is tremendously symbolic and esoteric, and I can perhaps devote another video for all of this, but I think it's best that if you want to go into this, all of this yourself, all of this symbolism much deeper, there is a wonderful lecture I highly recommend on the Glorian website about Capricorn on the Astrology course. Again, it is free and it is an immense lecture. I really love it. The link is down below. Now, Saturn is also related to the mental body, our mind. So, the reason I spoke about the better way to approach astrology at the beginning of this video is because Capricorn and Saturn represent this death, right? This psychological death to do with sanctifying and purifying the mind, right? So we have to throw away all of this useless theories and only keep what is practical to awakening our consciousness. So Capricorn and Saturn represent an immense opportunity during this time to purify our minds and put all of our useless theories aside, all of the clutter of materialistic ways of the intellect in the trash, in order to what? In order to develop intuition and directly experience the divine truth of reality. No more looking desperately in books, but this time, this energy is to throw away the books and really meditate in a profound way. So this is why, during this time of December and January, it's usually the most difficult for most of us in terms of inner clutter, being able to meditate, trials, ordeals, because basically there's too many monsters in the mind and they're very difficult to control because The dark, cold night of winter represents our inner spiritual night and exploring the darkness within us, and the opportunity as well to kill it with the scythe of Saturn's rays of death. That's why Capricorn's color is also black. So during this time, we have to get in touch with our inner midnight sun, our guiding intuition, which will help us walk in the right direction in the darkness instead of getting lost in useless theories, speculations, beliefs, etc. It's more of a dangerous time. Don't waste time in things that are useless. It has to be practical. We have to develop intuition. So in the example I gave in the beginning about overthinking and overanalyzing, about coordinates, astrological mathematics, equations, etc. to do with astrology, this is all useless for the most part if you really want to awaken. Don't be too fascinated with all of that. Astrology needs to be practical. We need to live it in order to truly understand it. So with this relatively short description of Capricorn, I hope I've given you the particular essence and power of Capricorn, this very mysterious and dark but also light power. And for that reason, it is also known as the door of heaven, because the door of heaven is not some great light with angels singing, but it is a dark path full of death and monsters and fighting, because we have to pass through death in order to see the light. You can reflect on this in this time of Christmas and how this symbolism of Christ is crucifixion and resurrection. So you can also reflect on how in rituals of initiation as well, the initiate is forced to wear a blindfold to experience the power of this darkness. Okay, so, and with that, I want to share the very symbolic and initiatic practice of this sign. Now, the part of the body to do with these energies of Capricorn and Saturn is in the knees. And for this practice, the mind should be focused on the knees the entire time, feeling that the power of Saturn is being concentrated there and charged there. And what we do is we stand up in a room with enough space in a meditative way. And we visualize that there is a coffin on the floor in front of us. And like in the diagram on the screen, stand at one side of the coffin, never standing on the coffin, but walking over it, imagining it always between your legs. And we take big steps, bending the knees as if almost jumping over the coffin from one side to the other. You can do it like the image on the screen. 3 big steps. This is as if to jump over our obstacles, letting them die in the coffin of the earth beneath us. This practice reminds me of certain shamanic power movements where you walk and take big high steps in front of you, imagining that you are literally walking over your obstacles or leaving them behind you. But I prefer this practice much more. It's a great practice. If you ever feel overwhelmed by your personal obstacles, egos, emotions, whatever, stop being in self-pity about it. Do this practice instead. Walk over the coffin. You can do it as many times as you like, starting at number 4, taking 3 big steps, 1, 2, 3, and then walk back to 4 and do it again. You can also do this practice while crossing your arms over your chest like this, with your right arm over your left, deep in prayer and meditation. And it should also go without saying, you can then go into deeper sitting down meditation afterwards. So practices like these are great because often we have a very busy day full of chaotic thoughts, not conscious of our body and our internal states. And then we suddenly decide that we can, we think we can sit down and try to meditate, but it ends up that we have no success at all. But with a physical practice like this, we can get ready for our sitting practice first with this type of meditative, magical, mystical movement practice. Okay, so as a personal suggestion, I recommend you to listen to a guided meditation that I released recently, which teaches how to meditate on ego and dissolve it, since it is this time of Capricorn which calls for that, for this transformation, transmutation of the deepest and darkest parts of ourselves, to stop being goats, which is related to having vices of greed, lust, anger, fornication, hatred, etc., and convert ourselves into innocent sheeps or initiates or Gnostics. And I recommend that even though this time of Capricorn may be very difficult, you may see also very evil things coming up within yourself. I recommend that you don't feel sad or disheartened that you have certain negative elements within you, but instead be grateful that you see it. Be grateful that you see it, because it is an opportunity to then do spiritual practice, do meditation, prayer, do the guided meditation that I just recommended. And then you can progress on the path, because we need that darkness in order to progress. Without it, we're just living in ignorance, right? So seize the moment, seize all of our darkness, harness the willpower of Capricorn and Saturn, and take back your life and follow the impulses of your higher self, your inner being. It's a matter of your own life and death. Okay, and with that, I leave you with this image on the screen for you to meditate on, which shows how divinity is currently working in these times, these end times, to separate the sheep from the goats, allowing us, if we are really ready, to face our darkness, to ascend in our consciousness and enter the doors of heaven towards our real being and our inner Christ.